Here comes 1784, and after the 4th of July celebration, with all the people who have bones to pick with each other, strangers in town, money was short, and there might have been some lending and borrowing problems. And also because we had Tories and Patriots who still didn't quite get along, there was trouble to come. And we're going to hear about that now, still in the voice of Mary Jane Cooper, who's helping her father at his merchant's lot around the square in Morgan Towne. In Burke County's fictional celebration of July 4, the town is growing and more traffic does as much as the war to bring new hope and new troubles to Morgantown. By 1784, Morgan District is welcoming its first churches and schools, but more traffic means more trouble, and in the midst of severe inflation and a shortage of money, there are rumors of counterfeiters. Many of the former Tories are unwelcome to town, but Silas Oldham now sides with the new country and has permission to be there. Nicholas Jonesworth, a patriot soldier, but a man with a troublesome reputation, feels free to cause trouble for Silas and tradesman John Cooper, who welcomes the reformed Tory as a friend. John's daughter Mary Jane is helping John sell the family wares, but Nick Jonesworth has a bone to pick with her too, as her former beau, Daniel Macaulay, is now keeping company with Nick's sister, Tally. And here is how Mary Jane tells us about what happened. Even some of those who brought food were tempted by the smell of fried fish sold by the vendors. More than a fair portion of what little pocket money folks had was spent on treats not often found on the streets of Morgantown. Our family took dinner on our own lot, and there, as legally allowed after the time of divine services, Papa had set up a stand for food and drink. We had a basket of paper flags glued to sticks and pinwheels painted red, white, and blue that we made as toys for the children. 'Twas those flags that started the trouble, and drink played its part too, but not on our account. "Charlie, Silas, good to see you both," Father said, as the pair came to our stand. "Good to see you too, sir," Charlie replied. "I was hoping you had some of Mrs. Cooper's fruit pies. I've been bragging to Silas about how good they are." "I can help you with that, Charlie," I said. "We have ones made from dried apples and some with strawberry jam. Which for you today?" "I'm partial to apple, if you please," Charlie replied, "and I can pay you for it too, even if these are coins your brother Jack give me." "You worked hard for that penny, Charlie. 'Tis your own money for sure," Papa smiled. "I must say, though, a penny is well spent on 2 of my wife's fruit pies." Charlie and his brother-in-law Silas wolfed down the pies, and Father asked, "Silas, you're a man of age enough. Would you care for a sip of rum?" Silas stopped studying the bundle of paper flags and replied, "I dasn't do that, sir. Folks'll think it ill enough of me these days, and 'twould be a bad thing for drink to grease my temper. I believe my boy Ed would like one of these flags, though. He was too young to side with Tory Norwig. I'll be proud for him to grow up a son of this free land. How much for one of those?" Drink was already loosening the tongue of Nicholas Jonesworth before he came to our stand. Jonesworth staggered up to our table and ordered, "A spot of rum for a good soldier, eh, John Cooper?" "Greetings to you, Nicholas," Father replied. "You cut a handsome figure in the parade. Well done." "As well you might say," Nicholas replied, wagging his finger in Father's face. "'Tis a shame a man like yourself was too much of a coward to fight." I looked around for Joe. There would be trouble if my younger brother heard such talk. Luckily, he was off exploring the vendors with Jenny. "We all served as best we can, sir," Father replied. Nick's eyes focused a bit, and he noticed Charlie and Silas standing next to him. "What are them 2 Tories doing here today?" he asked. "I thought we done run you fellers off." "They're my customers, Nicholas," Father replied. "They have permission to be here today, and their trade is welcomed." "Then how about serving me that rum?" Nicholas ordered, and he slapped a bill onto the table, nearly smashing it into my platter of fruit pies. "Nicholas, we appreciate your service as a fighting man, but you've had a bit too much rum already, and 'tis illegal for me to serve you in that state. Would you care for a cider?" Father suggested. "Ciders for weaklings such as yourself," Nicholas slurred, and he leaned in toward Father, nearly knocking down my table. Father righted the table, and he took Nick's arm to lead him away. "I'm not going anywhere but here," Nicholas shouted, and he pulled away to return to the table. A crowd began to take notice of the disturbance, and they pressed toward the trouble when Nicholas pushed his face far too close to mine. "How about one of them flags for a fighting man, Miss Mary?" Nick's face was inches from mine, and his breath proved he had rum aplenty, but with one hand leaning on my table, the other grabbed the flag from Silas Oldham and started waving it about over Silas's head. Father stood between Silas and Nick, and he pushed the drunk man's shoulders to stand him up again and said, "My children made those, Nicholas, and they mean to sell 'em to other children. If you want one, they cost a penny each." Father tried to take the flag from him, but Nicholas pulled back, ripping it. "Too bad," Nicholas slobbered as he spoke, "but then a man such as yourself deserves no flag at all, and neither do them Tories," he shouted. As Nicholas staggered about and wiggled his finger at Father, Daniel McCauley strode to our aid. He took a strong hold of Nicholas before he spoke. "Come with me, Nicholas Jonesworth," he said. "You're creating a spectacle of yourself here, and you're frightening the children." "Oh, Daniel, my sister's sweetheart. Good day to you," he slurred. And then Jonesworth turned back to me. "Shame you lost such a fine man to my sister, but I reckon he knows the better woman when he sees her." Daniel dragged him off to jail, but Jonesworth looked back over his shoulder to taunt me once more. "That shawl Daniel give to her looks much better on Tally than it ever did on you." My face and neck were red as an apple from Nick's insult, and Father came to comfort me. "Why does he hate us so?" I asked. "Pay him no mind," Father replied. "'Tis the drink talk, and he'll regret it tomorrow when he sobers up." We left that day with most of our wares unsold. "'Tis as if they blame you for the drunkenness of Nicholas Jonesworth," I told Father. Joe and Jenny joined us then, and they had more disturbing news. "Some of the vendors still gossip that you had something to do with the counterfeiting," Joe said. "I heard them saying you allowed drunkenness and gambling in the tavern too," Jenny added. "Well, we know that is not the truth," Father replied. "But go fetch the rest of the family here. I believe we've done enough for hospitality. 'Tis time we put this day behind us." Sadly, the events of July 4th lingered on to the days after that. And you can read more about what happened and who the counterfeiters were and what other trouble there was and who fell in love with whom if you read 1784, The Birth of Morgan Towne. Again, I hope you and yours had a wonderful 4th of July and many more to come. Thank you for listening.